Well, hello everybody, Jason up, New Age Revolution Cave. It is Tuesday, day before Wednesday. And we're going to talk about stuff. But first, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, this channel is going to give back to the masses, to the people, the creators of content out there. I have invited you to send me a 30-second or so commercial for your channel. And the first one who took me up on it was a fella named The Rad Zone. You've seen him in the comments section as The Rad Zone. My friend Perry has sent me some stuff in the past. We've had some conversations in the past, and now he is just showing off his goods in more ways than one. He's got a channel on the YouTube called the Cassette Phase. That's right, folks, the Cassette Phase with a PH, because that means it's cool. The Cassette Phase. And he sent in this little information packet, if you will, this little infomercial. Go check out the Cassette Phase. Here's my man Perry.
Hey everyone, my name is Perry, and welcome to the Cassette Phase. So you may have seen me in the comment sections on Jason's videos over the years, posting under the name The Rad Zone. Well, The Rad Zone was just that, a username. The Cassette Phase, however, is the name of my new YouTube channel. A channel where we will talk about anything and everything related to 80s and early 90s, pop culture, and nostalgia. We take a close look at all kinds of items from the collection here. You know, VHS tapes, toys and action figures, video games, and just general 80s stuff. You know, growing up as a kid in the 80s, we referred to our family room, you know, the room with our TV in it, as the den. Well, the space that I've created here, I lovingly refer to as the den. And I've really tried to capture in here the feeling, the feeling that Jason speaks about so eloquently. So if you're a fan of the New 80s Revolution, just like I am, and enjoy frequent trips down memory lane, come hang out.
All right, there you go. Link down below. I am subscribing as soon as this video is over because this might be an opportunity to watch something very similar to me. And I like that. That's why we are a family here, a family of similarities. What are we going to talk about, folks? We're going to talk about things in wrestling that legit scared me. Things that I, little New 80s Revolution, was terrified of as an 8-year-old, as a 9-year-old, maybe even as a 10-year-old. This will be followed up by a show that I'm going to talk about things that confused me about wrestling as a kid. You know, things like parts unknown, weight unknown, things like that. You know, why, people who, dove off the top rope, if they hit their opponent, they're fine. If they hit the mat, which I would guess is softer than the opponent, they were knocked out. All that stuff. Things that make you go, about wrestling. But first, it's the things that terrified me. Legit scared little New 80s Revolution. I was not afraid of Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees. No, indeed. I was afraid of the following wrestling skits, segments, things, and of course, wrestlers themselves. Let's talk about the wrestlers themselves. I mentioned one yesterday when I was doing LJN Revisited. I was legit scared of Kamala. I was. Not not cheesy WWF Kamala. Not even, well, hang on. So around 86, 87, Kamala was on the cover of an Apter magazine, Inside Wrestling or Sports Review Wrestling or The Wrestler or something like that. And he had a spear. He was holding his spear. And on that spear was the bloody head of Hulk Hogan. I'll find it. And that magazine used to scare the nuts out of me because I was like, that looks real. But prior to that, I was scared of 1984 Kamala. I was just afraid of him. He was, I mean, I'm 8 years old and he's from, the jungle somewhere, the Ugandan, I don't know what's in Uganda. I mean, I don't know where he's from. He's from the Uganda. And that was scary. Just the word Uganda was scary. The fact that as an 8-year-old, I thought this was a legit, cannibal. And I was afraid of Kamala. And he had this very dark music that was scary. And he needed to be controlled by his handlers. I thought that was scary. The belly slapping I didn't mind, but the fact that he needed to be controlled and like whipped with like a riding crop was scary, to get him to relax. I was scared of Kamala, and I was scared of like Mid-South wrestling Kamala. The Kamala that would take on Jerry Lawler, the Kamala that took on Magnum TA in the NWA. That was scary. That was scary Kamala. Along the same lines, Abdullah the Butcher was scary because, again, I'm a kid and I'm dumb and I'm buying into wrestling 100%. So Abdullah the Butcher is just another guy who can't be controlled. He's a savage, maybe also a cannibal too. But his deal was he was literally going to stab you in the head with a fork. And remember, I'm watching WWF. I'm watching Hillbilly Jim and Junkyard Dog, do his dance in the ring with kids. I'm not watching people stab people in the head with forks. And so I didn't know about, blading as a kid. I just figured Abdullah the Butcher was grinding this fork into your scalp and he was killing you. His size was terrifying. The elbow drop that he did, his finishing move in the NWA was an elbow drop. I never saw him in like Puerto Rico, WWC with Carlos Colon or anything like that. But I remember he would do this running elbow drop and he'd like hit his hands in the air. He'd like clap his hands and he'd land on the guy. And I always thought Abdullah the Butcher weighed like 1,000 pounds. And so I was always waiting for like blood to squirt out of the guy's, his opponent's mouth as he just came crushing down on his body. Abdullah the Butcher was scary. The missing link terrified me. I was sure again that he was just subhuman. And I met him at a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame dinner, and he kept the entire missing link persona the entire event, except for the dinner. I don't even know if he attended the dinner, but he was a giant. And this was like 15 years ago or so. And he was so like, just, you got to think like steroided. His body, you just knew that his body was going to explode. Kind of like the Warlord, today, like he's pink. He's kind of pink, like whatever's going on, he's pink, he's purple, his body's purple. Missing Link was purple. And when you met him, to take a photo with him, he would kind of have like this very weird noise that was coming out of his throat. I can't do it because you won't hear it. It wasn't a whisper. It was kind of like a gas. Like that's how that was the noise he made when you were standing next to him as he was posing for a picture. And he wouldn't talk and he wouldn't be like, all right, thanks. He would just do this weird gaspy breath thing. And I was still scared of him as like a 24-year-old turd. I was still intimidated by the missing link because he was a tree trunk. He was massive. But as a kid, I was afraid of him. coming down, smashing his head into chairs. Like, what is that? You can't stop this animal. And I was scared for the opponents, the jobbers of the missing link. I thought he was going to kill them. One of the first things that I remember scaring me was not a wrestler. It was an event. It was the Piper's Pit, where Roddy Piper smashes Jimmy Snuka with a coconut. And that made me very uncomfortable as a kid. I had a hard time watching that as a kid. And from what I remember, they would replay that over and over again. So, I mean, as my little kid head remembers it played 100 times. But I just watched all of 84. They replayed it maybe 5-6 times on different syndicated shows on TNT or whatever. But I just remember knowing it was coming and being very scared for Jimmy Snuka. And it wasn't just the coconut. It was Jimmy Snuka falling through the Piper's Pit set and knocking it down. Because again, as a kid, I don't know that Piper's Pit is a set made out of plywood and, cardboard or whatever. I don't know that. I don't know. Maybe Piper's Pit is just this world that's just always there. But Jimmy Snuka went through it and knocked it down. And I think that made me horribly uncomfortable. The fact that Piper was whooping Snuka with a belt, that made me uncomfortable. And when Snuka got up, as Piper was walking away, Snuka got up and did his and he's so mad and he goes charging at him and he's screaming and he can't be stopped and he's banging on the door and all these guys are trying to stop him. That's too much for an 8-year-old. I'm sorry. Call me a snowflake, if you will. But that's too much. That was traumatic for an 8-year-old to see what he believes is an actual assault happening on his television. Fireballs. Fireballs made me uncomfortable because, again, I'm watching WWF. Okay, they're not even really using steel chairs in WWF when I'm watching it, right? It's TV matches, it's fluffy, it's Hillbilly Jim. But if I ever caught some Mid-South, I never saw Mid-South wrestling, but if I ever saw highlights, like on Pro Wrestling This Week, or whatever highlights, NWA would sometimes show it. They would show like music videos. The AWA would sometimes show. But I remember Jerry Lawler, I think, hitting Kamala with a fireball. And I just thought that was murder. First of all, how? How are you throwing fire at somebody? Like, you can't hold fire. What are you doing? I don't know anything about flash paper. What are you doing? Are you lighting yourself on fire and then what are you doing? And then the reaction of the guy who got burned with the fireball is over the top. He's rolling around on the mat. He's literally dying. He's screaming. Guys come in with rags and put it over his head and he's, Again, it's like a horror movie. It's like a real horror movie. But I knew it wasn't a movie, but I didn't know it was fake. So I'm like, well, this isn't a movie, and it certainly isn't fake. So that guy just got his face burned off. And oh my God, what does he look like underneath the towel? He's got the towel over his face, the wet towel. Like, what does he look like? Is his skin falling off? I loved it. I loved being vulnerable and innocent. It did its job so well. So well. Nowadays, it's like that, for kids. But the Red X, and this is early 80s. This is like 80, 81, 82, 83. I guess up to 84 maybe. But Masked Superstar in particular would use the claw hold. Blackjack Mulligan would use the claw hold. And then for whatever reason, they'd put this big red X on the screen. And I just thought that was terrifying. That was what is going on, that they have to X out the screen. Because I thought that the claw hold was actually squeezing blood out of the head of the opponent. And they had to censor it. I knew that they were censoring it, and I figured that they were censoring blood. And I think, if there was going to be blood, it would be the old blood packet in the mouth, so blood, your blood's coming out of your mouth from the claw. I just literally thought that he was killing the guy with the claw, that he was squeezing his head so hard that blood was coming out of his mouth. So the red X would make me turn away. And that's about it. But in a non-wrestling related terrifying thing, and still scares me to this day, even though I don't see them anymore because we don't have cable. But the news breaking in for a special report, as a kid, I'd run and hide. I would just take off, especially like if I'm hanging out with my mom and she's watching soap operas at like 2:00 in the afternoon. And then, you're hearing them, oh, this is terrible what you did to me. And then boom, it just stops and it's silent for a minute. And then you hear, we interrupt this program to give you a special report. And I'm like, what happened? And I'm out of there. I'm upstairs. I'm hiding under the bed. I don't want to know that President Reagan got shot. I don't want to know that John Lennon was dead. I don't know what's happening. It's monsters of some kind. The monsters are here, and the television is telling us. And today I'm still kind of scared of televisions. I'm not saying that I'm scared of televisions, but I'm still kind of scared of televisions because of Poltergeist. I really am. But the special report news break-in, not good. Not good. I'll watch some YouTube. There's some YouTube videos out there that do pranks, emergency test signal pranks that then say that the end of the world is coming, that the nuclear bomb is happening, and like people freak out, but it's a prank. I watch those and I get scared. I get legit scared. Not because it's the end of the world, but because of the television is telling us. It's terrifying. All right, that's the things about wrestling that legit scared me. Go check out the Cassette Phase. All of his information is down below. We'll see you next time. Good night now.